The Beef and Barnzy Show, brought to you by Bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Roll to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
Good morning. Welcome to the Beef and Barnzy Show. I still don't have Chris with me, but I do have a guest today, so you won't have to listen to me ramble on for an hour by myself. Here it is. The PBA's #1 fan is here. I knew he would be here immediately, so Nico is here. We're good. We're good to go. Nico can fire the questions in. This lady is now a two-time major champion with 5 titles. And she's still my Lucy partner last time I checked. So, Josie Barnes, where's your tiara?
Hi, Stu. Right here.
Oh, yeah, you've got it. Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. All right. So, we've got the obligatory, is Josie related to Chris?
Always.
No.
No.
We do have a funny story about Josie, Chris, and me in a entry situation that we might bring up later on. So that was pretty good. But yes, so I tried to find video footage online of you winning, and nobody's uploaded it, so I can't get myself demonetized or anything. But what a whirlwind! Yeah.
That it's still hard to believe. I guess I've had 2 nights now, and they've been pretty sleepless.
Yeah, one with partying and one with trying to get back on like time, I guess. Yeah. So talk a little bit about how your wrist injury has caused some issues and then actually miraculously changed your ball roll.
Yeah. So at the end of last season, my wrist was like not in a good way. Like I really couldn't do anything with my right hand. And so I'm fortunate I was able to get in pretty quickly to see a hand specialist here in Nashville, who more or less told me it was good and bad news. The good news was that there wasn't really anything structurally wrong with it. It's just an overuse injury, which is the bad news, because really the only way to help with that is rest. And really at my age and in my, at this point in my career, it's managing frames.
I was about to say, that's always sweet when they start with the at your age.
Yeah. He's like, you've been bowling over 30 years. Like it's going to be about managing how many shots you take for the foreseeable future. And so I took off about 4 months. No bowling whatsoever. So that's when I started doing more in the gym and doing some running, because I really can't sit still. And then once I started to pick it back up, I noticed that my hand wasn't hurting yet, because, the rest had helped. But it allowed me to really focus on where my hand was at. And it naturally kind of got back underneath the ball a little bit, and it ended up moving my PAP over an inch. And so it definitely helped improve my ball roll, which, you and I had talked about out in Vegas, just helped my ball go through the pins a whole
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially playing that angle where you had to keep it closer to the head pin.
Yeah.
I could have imagined it would have been flat 10 City last season's ball roll.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you when we got to Vegas, and like for those of you who didn't see Tuesday's show, I actually did the ball rep thing for a week, so that was a bit of fun. But you got to Vegas, we had practice day, and it seemed like I came over to you and I was like, well, you're bowling the lanes exactly how I would like hope anybody be bowling them. Talk a little bit about because I don't think people quite realize how much the lanes change over like the whole time you're there, because when we were practicing, it seemed like, your Ion Max would have a chance. And like by the end of the week, it wasn't even like,
yeah, it never got out of the bag.
Yeah.
I mean, even, it was, to me, the best look I had in practice, but we were squad A. So it was really, the first time that they were putting the pattern down. And I was actually quite a bit further right than I ended up being at any point during the week. And so to me, it became very obvious that the front part of the lane just kept getting stickier and stickier and harder to get the ball through. And so as the week went on, it was pretty clear that my Equinox, or some version of an Equinox, was the best look. So I ended up drilling two of those throughout the week. And actually, for the TV show, I drilled an Identity because we felt like it could get even cleaner through the front compared to the two Equinox.
And did it? I was fascinated.
It did. It was actually interesting. I was using it on the practice pair, and then it actually took most of my shots before the show. But the very last shot, I had this really weak 10, and I thought I threw it really good. And I just kind of looked at Rob, and he looked at me, and he's like, "Ooh, that one scares me." And I said, "Yeah, I mean, because of who I was bowling, I knew I was going to need to strike."
And as it turned out, you didn't.
Correct.
Like
well, at the end, but yes, I felt like she was going to throw some at me, and so it was definitely a risk, a chance to go back to that Equinox, because I think I only threw it once out of the 8 shots that I got.
Yeah, I think that that's like kind of how those things go, though, isn't it? It's like you kind of knew exactly what that ball was going to do because you'd used it the whole time. But you also, at the same time, I don't know if people know this, but like we were bowling on the opposite side. Like you probably only bowled like maybe 4 games, I think, on that side in qualifying.
Yeah.
So in Suncoast, what they did was the house is like split. There's 32 on each side. And the high side, they used all 32 lanes because they wanted to build the TV show while you guys were bowling the matches.
Correct.
And they only used 18 lanes on the low side. So, I mean, in the end, the guy who actually repped for us on the low side, quite funny, Wesley Lowe, but Wesley ended up going home.
He did.
Because he hadn't even seen any shots on the high side. So, and it was like a totally different tournament. So that's, I mean, similar things. It's a more extreme version happened to JJ. Yes. I don't know if you saw that. JJ led the senior tournament by like 600, and then they play in the
2 lanes.
The guy's house.
Yeah.
So, and they use a different lane machine, I believe, and like so. It's kind of interesting that the 2 tournaments, it was almost the same thing. Like, so on that side, the lanes were hooking way earlier. It felt like talking to the players coming across. And then, of course, you had the practice lanes on the wrong side, right? Your warm-up lanes and everything. Yeah. Yeah. So that's how do you like deal with that? Like going from like the one to the other, knowing that like the practice shots you're having over here probably aren't even in any way relevant to what you're doing over the other side.
I wasn't really focused on ball reaction at all. For me, it was just making sure that my body stayed warmed up and I felt like I was executing shots the way I wanted to. And then once we went over, trusting what I saw, trusting what the ball reps saw, and making a judgment call, because I felt like for the whole week, my ball progressions were pretty obvious. And I felt really comfortable with those. And, my shot execution, I felt like was really good. So as long as I executed well, we knew where the balls fell and what we needed to do. So, I mean, really, when it came to the practice pairs, it really wasn't about ball motion at all for me, because I knew it was not going to look like that when I hopped over to the other side.
Yeah, chatting about your ball progressions, because we had we had a couple of matches where it was like, you were making quite big ball changes, like just because it started off for me. Your ability to be aggressive started off. I think we were bowling on the low end. You were bowling on the low end, and you had the game going with that attention star.
Yes.
And you went blindly into the Equinox in the 9th frame.
Yeah.
You got that strike. And then I think that sort of like got you to kind of like your mind to believe the ball, because it seemed like it was way easier to change ball than it was to try and chase it in once
Correct.
the ball reaction was wrong.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that was most obvious to me during qualifying was, especially when we bowled on the fresh, the burn, that's a different conversation. But I felt like it became a lot harder to thread the needle if you moved too far left. So it was just,
Definitely.
Finding what ball continued to give you that shape that went through the 8-9 the right way.
Yeah. It was definitely interesting. I don't think I'd ever seen the lanes change that quickly when the ladies were bowling, because it was kind of crazy, like how quickly the ball went from being great to not great.
Yeah. And I think for me, it became most obvious a little later in the tournament. And I don't know if maybe it was just the pair that I hit, but when I was bowling Alicia, and I actually was able to stay with the physics blackout longer than I anticipated, because that one usually went away pretty quick. But then once it went, it just disappeared. And so I skipped over a couple of balls because the match started to get tight at the very end. The left lane was Velcro in the front. Made the switch to the Equinox, had no shot of getting through the fronts. And then in the 10th frame, I think.
Yeah, it was the 10th frame.
Yeah, in the 10th frame, I was like, heck, I got to go to the ball that I know 100% is going to get through the front, and went to that road. And so I really think I probably could have gone physics blackout road.
Yeah, well, I was actually watching that match on the plane. And I was towards the end, I was texting with Joey, the other ball rep who was there. And I was like, why is nobody suggesting a ball change at this point? Like, it was like, to me, it was like obvious for like maybe a game that ball was dead on the left lane. Like it was really like struggling.
Yeah.
And Joey's like, oh, and then I realized it was because it was you and Alicia, and we kind of sort of stay out of those matches a little bit. But I personally think the reason why that happened was because
she did use it.
Alicia was bowling the lanes very similarly to you, and she used a lot of surface also. So the lane really changed like drastically, but yeah. Chris is watching from the plane. Just one
Chris.
more Barnes better than me.
And I think Alicia saw the same thing. Like 100%. She was using the new Origin, the orangish one.
The EX.
Yeah. And then eventually switched to the original. And then I think balled down to the IQ AI.
Yeah, there was quite a few of those going down the lane.
Yeah.
Would the Ion Max be a good replacement for the No Rules Exist? No. I think the Ion Max would be massively stronger than the No Rules Exist. But yeah, that would be, if I was changing it, I'd go for something maybe like this new Origin EX or a XL. I've got one question here. I'm curious why they let you rep in Vegas. It actually worked out better than most people thought it was going to. I didn't make anybody cry, so that was
actually great.
So yeah, that was a good one. Rob was a little worried. I managed to make my judginess over people missing single pins be more of an aggressive thing. So then people didn't get too upset about it. So poor Carson Lukosius, she missed a 4-pin. I walked about 10 lanes. I was like, what the fuck? And she's like, I know. The last block that we were there, Rob was losing his mind. I asked Hank if he could redesign a new plastic ball because everybody on our staff refused to shoot single pins the one game. It was wild. Like, I think we had 8 or 9 missed in like the first game.
Standing in the back, I heard you.
But me and Rob were just like, what's going on? Because everybody, in general, people spared really well all week.
Yeah.
And then just that round, it was like.
Sometimes I think there's nothing worse though than being on the approach and hearing someone's spare ball hit the back of the curtain, just like, and like you're up and you're like, God.
Well, what's it? Jordan was winning her game she was quite a bit ahead when I walked down, and I was looking at Frank, and she'd missed back to back, and she was winning by like a decent amount. And I look at her and she's like, don't talk to me. Leave me alone. She just burst out laughing. She was like, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, people made so many good shots though, like on that pattern. Like, I think that the people who really struggle were the people who tried to hook it too much.
Yeah.
That was principally what it came down to. And I think that you never really had that issue because you saw the reaction. Let's move on a little bit to the TV show.
Yeah.
I was texting with Kyle, your husband, while that was going on.
I'm sure that was
and we were having a bit of a roller coaster when like Jane just wouldn't go away. And it was like one of the weirdest games I've ever seen because it felt like she was about to bowl 150 and it felt like you were bowling a great game. And then the next minute we're looking at the scores. I'm like, she still needs 9. How is that like possible?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I knew that somewhere she would put some strikes together. I mean, she's Jane, so it's going to happen. But I tried not to focus too much on what she was doing. I was trying to pay attention to what she was doing on the left lane because it was very clear that the left lane, at least to me, was the one that was giving people fits throughout the show. So, when I sat behind that lane, I usually don't like to watch what the competitor's doing, but I felt like it was important to see what her ball was doing. And so, it revealed itself that it really was a pain in the butt. But coming back from the commercial break, I actually felt like my shot on the right lane that got 8 was pretty good. I looked at Rob and I was like, was that slow? And he didn't think it was, and I didn't think it was either, but it was the only thing that really made sense to me in my head. And then went to the left lane and I missed just a little bit up the lane. And that was the lane you did not want to do that on. And that's when I split. And so fortunately I had a second to sit down and breathe and figure out what my, what my next move was, what my next play was. But yeah, I just, for the most part, tried to control the pocket after she gave me those few opportunities at the beginning of the game.
Yeah. I mean, I just felt like it was so easy for what happened to happen. Like it was one of those deals where if you missed up the lane, it would check. But if you missed right and you were slow, it would check. It was kind of like that in-between zone, wasn't it? It was like when you had good ball motion, you could miss up the lane a little bit and you get away with it, like as she chased it in. Alicia, there you go. This is the nicest thing she's ever said to me. She said, "You were awesome as a rep. Appreciate your honesty out there with us." We had a couple of conversations. Like I would say that Alicia and me were maybe clashing the most. Back and forth over because she's very I appreciate it because she's quite hard-headed like me. So Verity was also that way. I could see the English coming out in her. She was just like me and Dom. But like, yeah, I mean, Alicia bowled great also. Arguably your match kind of determined quite a lot of that show. Because I think you both had pretty similar ball motion on the fresh. So good week to her.
Yeah, she had an awesome week.
Yeah, we had one fun lane because there was the first day, the one lane got really messed up because Daria had bowled on it and then Nora had bowled on it, and I told Alicia, this is the driest pair over here. And then the next day, see there she says, if I heard this is the most hooking pair of the house. So then the next day she comes over to the end pair. The day it was like just totally like couldn't get it down the lane. And I said, this pair, she said, you said that yesterday. And I said, well, 39 of the 40 bowlers on it agreed with me. Like giving her a hard time. I said, so the deal was, I said, look, here's the deal. You throw the first shot, it's going to go straight through the face. Don't blame yourself and just move.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, whatever. And she goes up and she throws the first shot and it hit the lane and immediately went through the face. And she looks back at me and Travis with I knew it as well. I hate it when you guys are right. And then she moved and then she bowled great. Like I think she had a triple straight after, but it was really funny. Like the look she gave me and Travis, it wasn't like that's what I need to do. It was like, God damn it. And I was like, that's exactly how I am with Rob. When Rob tells me something, I'm like, that's not right. That's not right.
But I think that's why you were good out there this week, because you get it. You know, like,
yeah,
we all have the way we think and the way we operate. And you've been in those positions.
Yeah. Well, that's what I tried to tell Rob. I said, look, we had this debate. It's just like, I know when I haven't thrown a good shot. I don't need someone to tell me. And I always go back to my buddy Dom. He has the best phrase ever to a ball rep. When the ball rep told him he was bowling great one day, and then he said, "You're not bowling. You just don't have a flat spot today. Your swing's really steep." And he goes, "Well, it's your job to find me a flat spot." And he might have added a few more expletives in between. And that's one of my favorite quotes ever. That's the job of a ball rep. Find me a flat spot. I guess it's because Kegel and the USBC don't have the same sponsorship agreement. Would be my guess.
Has something to do with the agreement.
Yeah,
what centers they're in. Yeah.
Yeah, because they bring for the TV for the men's tour, they bring like the Specto Go or whatever, and they set it up before the show and everything. So I think it was part of like Fox really liked that. So
yeah.
So now you've got 2 tournaments. You don't win small tournaments, do you?
I guess not.
I mean, it's the way to do it. I mean, because your US Open was 100,000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the way to do it. You won like 16 tournaments in 2 goes.
It's true. Hadn't considered it.
Here you go. This is Chris responding again. He's changed the counts now. See, he realized that we get paid if he watches on YouTube, but we don't get paid if he watches on Facebook. So he switched it over.
Yeah.
It's got for building the graphics. So, okay.
Makes sense.
So looking forward to the rest of the season. Have you got any stops that you're outside of the US Open, obviously, that you're really looking forward to? You going to any places that you got good vibes at?
I would say the US Open is probably the one that I'm most excited about. I'm also excited for Cleveland next week. I won a title in that house back in 2019. That's when I was pregnant with Lisa Ruth. So that should be fun. I haven't been back in a while. And we have 3 shots at it there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely, it's always nice when you're on a good run to go to places that you like.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to be smart about, again, like frame management. And so I'm taking the event off between Cleveland and the US Open because there are a lot of
look at this asshole. She's got great vibes for everything left except the Lucy.
Oh, shut up, Chris.
I mean, that is quite funny. I'll give it to him. So the funny story about Chris and the Lucy, we can bring it up now.
Yeah.
Last year, Donna called me because I just entered the tournament, and she didn't say it in these words, but she's basically like, "Your partner's a hussy." And I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, you need to figure out who she's bowling with because Josie's entered with both you and Chris." Oh dear. It was partly because Chris didn't look at his schedule because he couldn't possibly bowl because it was right in the middle of the Senior World Series. But that was an old timer. I said, "Well, I think that's for Josie to figure out." And
because you and I had bowled the year before.
Yeah, because you and Chris had bowled for a while.
Yeah, we had bowled for a while before that, so I blame him.
Yeah. Read the room, Chris. Oh shit!
You broke up with me, not the other way around.
So, you were saying you're going to take the week off in between?
Yeah, the weekend. There's the one event in Iowa, so I'm going to take that one off to give my wrist some rest, and then trying to figure out Rochester. I will definitely miss the first one of that. because that is when Lisa Ruth has her first day of kindergarten. So I'm just the world's okayest mom. I don't want to be the world's worst mom. um, but now that I've qualified for the tour championships, I'll at least fly out for that, but trying to figure out if I'll bowl that second one or not.
Yeah, that also gives you a little bit more freedom, because like the tour championships is obviously the big deal for the top 24.
Correct.
But it's kind of hard with the ladies with as few events as you have to miss one and still make it. But
Correct.
now you've got the title. You don't need to really worry about that. You can be way more picky.
My roommate thinks that that's why I say those things, because I was like, I'm probably not going to bowl Rochester unless I win an event this season. And she's like, well, sounds like I got a roommate again.
Yeah. I mean, your roommate being Erin, I'm guessing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, she did. She didn't have the most fun to start the week.
She didn't. Yeah. It's interesting. That's usually how it goes for us. We rarely have like a free day where we both don't make the cut. It's like if I'm way up here, she's down here, and then the opposite, just with the things that we do and, you know, how we see the lane.
Well,
it's usually opposites, but
I told you, I think that it was because she was locked and loaded. I did tell you, all the people who were like absolutely loving a bowling over at the stadium, you were the only one who really bowled well, because like the women's championships was fairly easy. You had a nice trip to Vegas though.
I did.
800 in that as well.
Yeah. That one was interesting because I give my kids so much grief, my Vandy bowling girls. If they like look up and they aren't paying attention to the score, like I've never understood not knowing what's going on. But that event is so different for me. I try to get a decent number of our Vandy alum back together, even if they haven't thrown a ball in years. And then we get some friends from other schools that join us. So it's like the one event a year that I just enjoy. Like I'm not so much focused on what's actually happening. And so that last game, I had the front nine, and then I like flat 10'd. I didn't throw it great. And I turned around and I motioned for the guy to leave with the camera, because he did the same thing to Isabel. She had the front nine. I'm like, get out of here, man. And he stayed. And I'm like, what is this guy doing? So I just went up and shot the 10 pin and then filled my 10th. And he was like, congrats on your 800. And I'm like, huh? Like I had no idea, because I was just trying to enjoy it, you know, like
no, that's funny.
With my two graduating seniors and my good friend Cindy. And so I wasn't even really paying attention. So I had no idea. So they'll probably chastise me for that, because I give them grief.
Well, yeah, but you're the boss, so
that's true.
Barnes asks, what's changed the most for you over the last 6 or 8 years? He says personally, and like the players you're playing against.
Yeah. Well, I've become a mom, so that makes things difficult. You know, every time I leave, my child's like, no, you're not allowed to go again. You know, and I mean, she loves celebrating the success when I come home, but she's not old enough, you know, to really comprehend, you know, what and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So that's a challenge, and also exciting, you know, that she can see me do the things that I love. I think in the field, I was actually talking to one of my former players, Chris Qua. We roomed together this last week. And she just bowls sporadically here and there. She has this phenomenal job at Nike where she researches for them. So she gets out when she can. But this was the first event she had bowled in, I don't know, maybe 3 years. And she was like, Josie, it is insane, like how much stronger this field has gotten, you know, just over the last, you know, 3 to 4 years, you know, comparatively when she first started coming out. And I think you see that, you know, we have Malaysia that comes over regularly, Singapore that comes over regularly. We have a handful of girls from Europe that make the trip for the whole season, where, you know, at the beginning, 8 years ago, whatever, it was mostly just the girls that were here in the US and that had just graduated college. And I think we have a lot of talent there too, but when you just start adding to that number, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. I mean, it was it did surprise me how much the cut ended up going up.
Yeah.
And I think that was just due to how strong the field was. I mean, a lot of the ladies who you expected to make it made it. There wasn't that many ladies who didn't make it, but still at 64, it used to be like the queens, like, I mean, almost like as long as you didn't fall down, you
Right.
know, if you bowled decent, you were going to make it. And it isn't that way now. So that's, I mean, I know that it's been a while since she'd bowled events because I looked at her at Arsenal and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I was like, do you want to mix a new ball in there? Like maybe like,
yeah, I dropped her off at the airport yesterday. And she's talking about she's going to men's nationals in, I don't know, a month or so. And she goes, I think I'm going to text you and talk to you about balls. And I was like, I think that would be a great idea.
yeah. Yeah. She's like throwing her Rubicon. She's like, this is my strongest ball.
But in her defense, I think that you can look at some of the pros that come out every week and they're not throwing catalog balls.
No, by far and away, the hardest thing on the women's tour is the fact that you don't have the 2-year rule like we do.
Yeah.
So like there is some utter shit being carried around. Like, like one lady asked Joey, what should I change to from a daredevil trick? Joey goes, no idea. Like, no idea. Like, I've been on staff 5 years and I've been doing this job a year and I've never even seen that ball go down the lane. So I have no idea. Like, so it is like super like interesting. Like, you know, I saw a brand new TNT go down the lane this week and the person was excited to have it.
Yeah.
Phase 3 is one that was in there. There was some really like, and then of course, because you guys only have the PWBA, it's just USBC sanctioned. Yeah. So there's no end of like these Asian balls that we have no idea what that is. Like none, just none. And you know, I saw, I mean, just some of the balls were just wild that people were pulling out of the bag, and I'm just like, you do know that makes it way harder for the rep to help you when you bowl with balls like that. Like,
yeah, we've got a decent stockpile at school of balls that aren't in the catalog these days. And I've had a couple of pros come up to me like, hey, I heard you have a X, Y, and Z. What would it take?
Yeah, there's some fun ones because every time you see a TNT infused, you know that was a Shannon O'Keefe person. Like, so they either bowled wherever Shannon was before or Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
Like it's really funny. Like, you know, like we're going through and like, I'm like, somebody's using a TNT infused and Rob's like, oh yeah, that'll be a Shannon O'Keefe player. Like that was one of Shannon's favorites. And it's just, it is wild because the bowling industry changes so quickly, but it all stays the same. So it's like a lot of the balls are like, not that much different, but it's just like, I've never gone from one of those to one of these. Like, it's just, it's definitely interesting how many of the ladies have like way older balls. It's like when Simo bowls the Masters and like every year he drills an Alpha Crux. It's like, how many of these things do you have left? Like, you've done this for like, that ball's been discontinued like 4 years and you drill a new one every year. Like, see, Simon might want some of those older balls. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're not as old as you'd think because we transitioned to really unaffiliated as a program. Maybe back in 22-ish. So it's not that long ago, but it will be there. I mean, most of our stuff is Storm Roto 900.
Yeah.
But ask me again in 6 or 7 years and we'll still have some of those sitting there, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, it is weird the way, and I don't know if you ever like keep a couple of the ones that you like really like, you know, you'll get like, you know, it's going to get discontinued or whatever, you get a couple. Yeah. I just find myself, I don't do it. And then I'm pissed off because I don't have one. And then I do it. And I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, I've got like 5 absolute powers left, and I drilled one this year, and it was absolutely rubbish on the PBA this year for whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've got another 4 of these left now. Like, what am I going to do with them?
Yeah.
It's just so funny the way it goes in, like, you know, absolute. The original absolute was like the ball I used for like forever. And I've got like 3 or 4 of those left. And I'm just like, what am I going to drill those for?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is funny the way it goes. Your husband shaming you. He says that you're a UC2 hoarder.
Well, yeah. So that ball still is really good for whatever reason on the college stuff that we bowl on. And you know how it works when they send out the thing saying these balls are discontinued, like,
yeah,
they're done. And so I said something to my boss. I'm like, oh man, like, because we didn't really have anything in backstock at that point.
Yeah.
And I was like, like, this is like one of our most reliable balls for what we do. And so he went into panic mode and reached out to like every distributor, every pro shop that he could think of, and was like, hey, if you have these, you know, we'll take 6 of them.
Yeah.
And everyone came back and was like, I don't think we have these. And he's like, well, if you do find them, just send them and charge them. And they all somehow found them, and we ended up with like 28 of them.
That ball actually might have been quite good last week also.
Yeah. And yeah. Of course, I have a couple of my own here at home.
Yeah.
That I kept because I really liked it. But yeah, every kid that comes into our program now will have a UC2 just because
we've got an unlimited supply.
So
switching over to the college thing a little bit. What's your best advice for people looking to go in that direction? Like, you know, what should they look for, like, on the bowling side of it? Because obviously the school side of it is super important, but like it's going to be different for each case. This is more like from a player's. What are your like red flags when you see it? Like, if you're going to go somewhere, like, oh, that's a little bit like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's case by case, because, you know, each person responds to situations differently. I think number one, if you're wanting to bowl in college, it's equally as important for you to recruit the college as it is for the college to recruit you, because most of these coaches are part-time, or if they're full-time, they have 2 teams, or, you know, there's a lot on their plate that happens behind the scenes, that it's really easy for really good players to fall through the cracks, not because they're not talented and you know, all of that goes with it, but just because there's so many hours in a day. And so like Chris, for example, that we talked about, she was, you know, one of the best players to come through our program. And that started because she cold called us. You know, I don't know that we would have seen her otherwise.
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily have found her.
Correct. So she knew that Vanderbilt was a school she wanted to go to. So she called us and continued to do that, right? Because I know that I miss text messages and emails and, you know, through the day to day, like you can be quote unquote annoying. Just if that's really what you want. I think the other thing is, you know, at least on the NCAA side, making sure that the school you're at, whether it's the location or the academics that are attached to it, that it's a place that you can be at without bowling. Because at least on the NCAA side, we're only allowed 20 hours a week with our kids. So that's not even a full day. So if you have 6 days that have no bowling in it, if you're just miserable, even the bowling fun isn't going to make up for like being in an awful place, or a place that you deem awful. And so that's like 2 of the biggest things that we tell kids that come in. And then, you know, outside of that, I think having a connection with the coach is important, whatever that looks like for you, whatever you're, you know, if it's trying to get better physically, if it's trying to get better mentally, just looking for a general mentor, you know, asking them those questions.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting you say that, because I do feel like a lot of people get super hyped about going to one place or another. And I feel like quite a few people get drawn into going to somewhere because their friends going there. And then they end up being there and the bowling doesn't go quite the way they want it to. And then they're like in a place that they're just like miserable.
Yeah.
And
you're not supposed to be. Like, college is supposed to be
the
most fun. Yeah, the most fun that you have. It really doesn't get a whole lot better than that.
and let's be honest, like bowlers aren't necessarily the most interesting people all of the time. We feel like as a group we are, but like in the greater world of everything, we're not necessarily that way. So it's like, it is an awkward one for sure. I mean, like for me, I think that like finding a coach who has a plan for you is the most important thing, because I think a lot of kids, they go and they have unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
We all do. Like we all think we're better than we are, because unless you believe in yourself, nobody else is going to. So you've always got to be your number one fan. I mean, I 100% believe that. Like, if you can find someone who cheers for you just as hard as you do, then you should probably marry them.
Right.
Like, you know, Tina's my number one fan, but like, and I'm sure Kyle is for you.
Yeah.
But it's just like that part of like, when you go there, if they don't have a plan for you, you kind of know pretty quickly that it's going to be like, why am I here?
Yeah. And I think it's making sure that your goals are in sync. So we do a lot of talking about goal setting, not just as a team, but as an individual, because especially at our school, because it's so academic forward, not all of my kids want to bowl after college, not professionally, at least, you know? So it's like, what do you want to do while you're here? Is it just, you know, be a contributing member of the team? Is it being a first team All-American? Is it potentially going and bowling on tour afterwards? And, you know, whatever that looks like, now we can sit down and make a plan that you deem worthy of chasing, right? Because if I think you should be trying to bowl on the PWBA and you just want to contribute to the team, we're never going to get along as a coach and student relationship, because we have two different ideas of what you need to be. And so making sure, and we reevaluate it all the time, because kids are allowed to change their mind from 18 to 22. But just making sure we're in sync in what that looks like.
I mean, that's pretty cool to hear, because I think that a lot of the college coaches need to have that like kind of mentality. I think that like there's too much of I mean, from my very limited exposure to it, it seems like there's too many of like one size fits all. And it's not like, if you're not in that first few guys, it becomes very challenging to, you know, realize your goals. And of course,
and I think a lot of it is just having patience as a coach. Because I know one of the things that was the hardest for me that I think I've gotten better at, I hope I've gotten better at over time, is recognizing that like I get older, but the kids stay the same age. So like I'm learning things, you know, that I can look back on. But I have to continue to teach the same lessons and be patient through that. They all stay 18 to 22 years 22 years old.
Yeah, you're just like, why am I having this conversation? I had this conversation last year, and then you realize it's because it's with the next person who came in. Yeah, and also I guess that makes it easier for you in the long run, because you have different ways of giving the same message that have worked better some years than others. It's a bit like just coaching in general. One of the reasons why Mark Baker's the best coach in the world is because he does, you know, 120 lessons a month.
Right.
Well, you know, he does 120 lessons a month because he's the best coach in the world, but he becomes better coach because he does this more often. And then, like, you know, I tell the story of when I went to see him before the start of this season. I went at Thanksgiving last year and I said, yeah, Mark, I feel like I'm throwing it like shit. And he's giving it the, yeah, whatever, you know, like, and I go, like, I have like, it's really weird. I have like zero speed control and like, I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
And I threw like 3 or 4 shots. He goes, holy shit, you are throwing it terrible. Wow. Well, this is going to be way more fun for the next 2 hours than I thought it was going to be. And he gets out of his chair and he comes on the lane and he has to now start taking it seriously because he thought it was going to be one of those sessions where I say, oh, I'm bowling terrible. And I throw like 10 shots while he's watching. He's like, see, you're not throwing that bad. And then he just watches. He's like, wow. So, I mean, but the thing is because he's seen, because there's only so many things you can fuck up principally in 5 steps.
Yeah.
Like they're like realistically, we all do this somewhat of the same things wrong. And Mark, of course, sees that every day. So I think that's what makes him better at helping people who aren't necessarily very good.
Yeah.
Like, because helping the best bowlers is somewhat easier because you're just trying to, get back on track. Yeah. But like that person who averages 120, I like watch them. I'm just like, I have no idea how I should start helping you because you're so bad.
Yeah.
And Mark's just like, oh yeah, you do this, this, and this wrong. If we sort this out, you'll get to 150 easily. And I'm just like, that's what I find most amazing.
Yeah.
Like that. But of course, because he has such a huge catalog of people who aren't very good, it makes it so much easier. This is funny. This is old school. He says, my coach was a travel agent, not a coach. And then another person said, my first college coach drove the van, not sure he knew how many pins were in a full rack.
I'd say I know the answer to that.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It's just like, I think that everything has evolved. Like there's way more knowledge now. That's one thing that the internet has been positive for.
Yeah.
Like it's got a lot of negatives, but it's so much easier. Like you watch like the two-handed kids come out.
Yeah.
And they're like, they can get so much better, so much quicker because there's that information's out there and it's a pretty steep learning curve, but it's very quick.
Yeah.
I feel like with two-handed.
I feel like the kids definitely have way more knowledge than when I started college because of, the things that you're talking about. But I feel like the interesting balance to that is they know the things, but they haven't necessarily had the time to get the shots in to actually experience the things. And to me, that's maybe one of the larger challenges is, yes, you know some of this stuff, but there's no replacement for experience and actually being able to do the thing. And so putting them in positions where they have to actually experience the things that they've seen can be a challenge, but it's a fun one.
I mean, I did see that a little bit at the Queens this week because I felt like the pattern was a little different to what you guys are like used to.
Yeah.
So a lot of the ladies who have been bowling very well, who are a little younger, didn't necessarily have the experience of like keeping the ball closer to the head pin. Like, like the smaller moves, they're like so used to. It's just like, well, the front blows, I can move 4 and 2. Everything's good, like whatever. Whereas you saw like Missy Parkin bowling really well. You saw yourself bowling really well. People who had more experience of different ways of bowling the lanes, I think. And it definitely came through in the matches. Like the players, like, because I mean, Brianna Clemmer bowled incredible because she crossed with you, right?
She did. Yeah.
And me and you both had the, oh my God, she threw away that many pins every time she slipped. Because like Brianna gave like
big 4 and then
just
throw a strike shot to see another ball. And I'm like, I wish I knew I was going to strike that much.
Yeah, it was absolutely wild. I mean, I think we counted up at one point. She was up to about 12 pins in wood that she just like, just didn't care about at all.
I mean, she led the thing. So
yeah, I mean, it was just wild. I think I was talking to Rob about it though. I said, I think the reason why I would never do that is because I remember bowling a league where we bowled on like instructor mat or whatever. So there's no pins. And I remember how many times I started with the 210, the first frame, thinking that I was hitting the pocket every shot.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard. So like to me, throwing at the big 4, it's just like totally worthless because you're like, my eyes just aren't good enough to know if that was a strike or if that was a 210. And like, and for all the people out there, it's obvious when you're going to leave the 210 when the pins are there.
Right.
Like when the pins aren't there, a 2-8-10 looks a lot like a strike.
Yeah.
Like a lot. So yeah, that was interesting. But of course, when she got in her matches, because the lane broke down so quickly, the only consistent part was really playing the hold. Like you never really knew how it was going to react when you were getting it off the head pin. So yeah, I do see that, like, and that's the cool thing about Nick doing the lanes. Like he's really trying to have a variety for you guys to bowl on. And like, you know, sometimes it won't go right and sometimes it will go right. I mean, and for the ladies, because you don't have yet, I'm sure it's coming, but you don't have that dominance of like super, super high end rev rate.
Yeah.
Your lanes actually play like the pattern. Whereas for us, it kind of doesn't matter what they lay out. You know, if it's a little shorter, they're going to lay urethane at 8 and then we're going to hook around it. And they're all going to look the same. So, yeah. Here he is. If you want to kick him, now's a good time to kick him. Chris is I think close to an all-time low. So he's not having fun out on the senior tour. I'm sure coming back and practicing with Ryan's going to be super helpful for him too. Like Ryan's version of a slump is going a week and a half without bowling 300 right now.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah. So Josie went out and celebrated last night and you forced her to get up early for the show. Funnily enough, Siri made her get up even earlier. So here I am. Brady's gone to school.
That's what we're going with, Siri.
Brady's gone to school. This is the worst day of the year for me because this is Brady's last day of school. How it's his last day of school in the middle of May, I have no idea. But anyway, I'm just lying in bed, whatever. Josie texts me, "Did you send the link?" And I'm like, "Wow, she's yeah. So do you want me to log on in like 10 minutes? Why would you do that? The show's not till 10 Eastern. 10 to see, I did it again. 10 Central." And she goes, no, you said 10 Eastern. I'm like fuck I did. And then I scroll up and sure enough, Siri recorrected me from 10 Central to 10 Eastern. So Josie's been ready for a whole hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jumped on the learn how to bowl from Josie lessons. Huh? Worst people to learn from, Chris.
I'm not sure I'm technical enough for Chris.
Maybe that's what he needs.
Yeah.
Maybe Chris just needs to, like, you know.
What should I do? Hit the one in front.
I remember my Danish friend telling me that. She'd made the cut and it was a re-entry tournament. And she was just like, hit the head pin, the rest is luck. And it goes along with the Pete Weber. Pete Weber's has my favorite phrase of all time. He says, from the dots to the foul line is 100% skill. And from the foul line to the pins is 100% luck. And I was like, that's a strong statement. But you kind of understand where he's coming from.
Uh-huh.
Like, yeah. X doubles partner. X. But anyway, Josie, I will let you get on with your day now that you've managed to be on the show for 2 hours. Because you had the hour that you woke up early enough to be on, and now the extra hour. Yeah, 2 majors. Hall of Fame they're talking about now, Josie.
Oof. Yeah, that seems a little hard to believe. I had someone comment on my Facebook that if my kids are giving me grief, I should just wear my tiara to practice. And I haven't responded yet, but I used to ask Kim Terrell all the time, like, do you just walk into practice with your green jacket and your tiara when the kids won't listen to you? And she said, oh, it doesn't help. So like, if it doesn't work for her, I don't think it's going to work.
I was about to say, they go, man, that jacket is hideous. And did you get that tiara from Claire's?
They would, yeah.
You could have told me it was fancy dress today. Yeah. I told Frankie that, like, because Frankie had won the 2 US Opens. Mm-hmm. And I told him that if it was me, I'd be like walking into roll call and be like, man, is it hot in here? Oh Oh my God. Like, so then he actually did do, I don't know if he posted it, if he just sent it to me, but he had a picture of him and his girlfriend, Tatiana, sat on the couch, both of them wearing jackets going, Netflix and chill tonight.
That's funny.
So, yeah. I mean, Chris has the world's biggest trophy cabinet that he has pushed against the wall that you can't see until you've walked into the entire house. So, like, yeah, Chris is the most humble of all champions. He spends the whole time telling everybody how much better everybody in his life is than he is, when he's got like 17,000 awards and every Hall of Fame that's ever existed. So. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Do you have anything else you would like to say?
No, I'm good. Thanks Storm Coolwick Vice for, always helping me out. But and also Lisa Ruth has become one of your biggest fans too. Remember that.
Spoon.
Spoon the stew.
Oh dear. Well, I'm her fan too, so that's good. I just love the fact that we were having that one conversation, and Brittany's wife was saying, "No, kids are great," and me, you, and Brittany are like, "No, they're not." And we totally didn't mean it, but it was so funny that she would like refuse to join the narrative.
Yeah, she's the sweetest.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's amazing. But like, see, the thing is, I can say whatever I want about Brady because he doesn't talk back to me.
You're the worst.
Yeah, I mean,
I love Brady.
Yeah, but this is the worst. He's going to be back 11:30, and then Tina's going away the week after.
Oh, it looks like you get to play Mr. Mom. You'll be great. You'll be great.
Yeah, he's going to throw the TV remote in the next door neighbor's yard or something like that. Yeah, it's awesome. Like kids should have to go to school 12 months a year. Like this, like, why do teachers get all this time off? I want to know. But anyway, thank you for joining us. Congratulations again. It was you are obviously a way better person than I am, because I couldn't believe how many people had run to congratulate you. So that was very nice to see. You are definitely one of the more popular champions. Congratulations. Good luck for the rest of the season. Hopefully you got one more title left in you.
Yeah. The Lucy would be nice.
Yeah, like a half title, as Chris calls it.
And maybe if you come out and do the US Open.
Yeah, like we've had it. I don't think it's going to be the US Open. Well, I'm certain it's not going to be the US Open. My parents are arriving I think I would have a pissed off Tina and a pissed off mother if I just was like, "Hey mom, nice to see you. See you in a week." When just as she came over. I mean, she pretends she's coming over to see me, but she's really just coming to see Brady. So
smart woman.
Anyway, thanks to the sponsors who support us. They are Storm, Rotogrip, 900 Global, Turbo, Coolwick, Bowlers Mart, Lightning Strikes, Firelight Bowling Center, and of course, Platinum Ford. Adam, I'm coming for your $100 this weekend. Texas Ironman. I believe one of the patterns is almost all the way to the head pin, so that should be fun. Take care, guys. I will see you next week. Bye.